From utterly dire spin-off games, to specials that'll have you cringing into the next inevitable saga, Disney would rather you forget these galactic damp squibs ever existed. I'm Gareth from What Culture Star Wars, and here are 10 Star Wars flops Disney have buried. Number 10. Super Bombad Racing. Of the many ways LucasArts attempted to fill out just about every portion of the video game market they could during the days before Disney opted to gently take their hands off the wheel, the sight of the likes of Jar Jar Binks and Darth Maul's gigantic heads roaring around a racetrack sits pretty high up on the list of most bizarre and eventually depressingly bad. From nonsensical concepts such as Yoda being able to whiz himself around a track from the comfort of his Jedi Council chair, to the blatant Mario Kart light execution of the gameplay in general. Few fans were ever really on board with a Super Bombad Racing project that felt like nothing more than a cheap way to squeeze more pennies out of a devoted fanbase. Number 9. Obi-Wan video game. As fans the world over gear themselves up for the incoming arrival of a long-awaited Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series, it's worth remembering that this isn't actually the first time a Kenobi-centric project has been given the green light. Dropping in 2001, a few months before Attack of the Clones landed in cinemas, LucasArts were keen to jump on the hype that had been surrounding Ewan McGregor's portrayal of the formerly Alec Guinness-guided Jedi Knight. However, the game, which focuses on the time leading into the Phantom Menace, would ultimately be met with mixed reviews after a development period that was turbulent to say the least. After being stuck in limbo for an age, all talk of online or multiplayer modes on the Xbox exclusive were eventually proved to be merely that, as the title's weak solo gameplay sadly took all of the joy out of an otherwise intriguing concept. Game Boy Advance and GameCube editions were inevitably binned off to focus on other projects, and Obi-Wan was soon left to gather dust in the bright green collections of many a disappointed Star Wars lover. Number 8. Jar Jar Binks. Few personalities have ever divided a franchise's fanbase in quite the fashion of a certain Gungan. And while Jar Jar Binks understandably wasn't everyone's cup of blue milk, it's not too difficult to see why George Lucas opted to stretch the boundaries of CGI character building and create an alien being that could easily shift its body weight 1,000 times over in merchandise. But in the years since the clumsy military commander and politician arrived on the scene, and Disney would eventually take over the galaxy far, far away, Binks has become somewhat of an afterthought for this fresh take on the universe. Following on from Jar Jar being reduced to a bit part player post-Phantom Menace, the Gungan has since become a perennial butt of the jokes throughout the Disney era. Disney Infinity 3.0 showcased Binks encased in carbonite, and the Star Wars Aftermath Empire's End canon novel depicts the alien as a street performer adored by children and detested by adults. Hell, J.J. Abrams even threatened to kill off the infamous Binks altogether in The Force Awakens. In short, Disney aren't in any rush to put Jar Jar on a pedestal. Number 7. The Clone Wars movie. While the rebooted The Clone Wars animated series that eventually trickled onto our screens from 2008 onwards would go on to become one of the most adored and celebrated TV projects Lucasfilm has ever produced, the backdoor pilot that originally kicked off this bold new era for the title isn't anywhere near as appreciated. And for good reason. Though not an entirely disappointing entry, it did give us the debut of one Ahsoka Tano after all. The Clone Wars feature that landed in theaters a few weeks before the incoming series was unfortunately weighed down by wholly boring characters and largely disappointing animation. Worse yet, the first real spin-off Star Wars movie project sits as the worst rated title in Lucasfilm's back catalogue, bringing in a putrid 18% on Rotten Tomatoes. The House of Mouse wants you to remember the half-hour doses of delightfulness, but not this dull dud of a film. Number 6. Ewoks. Keeping in the vein of animation, The Clone Wars was by no means the first time Lucasfilm attempted to unleash a cartoon that would grip those younger fans of the galaxy far, far away. Creeping onto ABC around the same time as its sister series, Droids, more on that later, and forming one half of the Star Wars Adventure Hour, the show would delve further into the life and adventures of leading Ewok Wicket W. Warwick, and his clan housed on the forest moon of Endor. Sure, those who weren't exactly over said moon to see these furry teddy bears in the original trilogy in the first place likely wouldn't be lining up for more fuzzy fun, but the show at least survived 2 seasons before being buried amongst the trees. It's not exactly hard to see why either, with the show being classed as generally unremarkable and another shameless attempt to shift toys and other merchandise in the wake of the OG film series coming to its conclusion. Number 5. Detours. Many a Star Wars project in the works around the time Lucasfilm was purchased by the House of Mouse ultimately found itself in development limbo, and arguably one of the most notable potential arrivals to be thrown on the scrap heap came in the form of Star Wars Detours. The series, brought to life by the same unit who worked wonders with the Robot Chicken Star Wars concept, saw a few of its already crafted clips shown at the 2012 Star Wars celebration, with a whopping 40 episodes of the comedy show already being completed for an impending series. However, Disney simply felt that the show didn't work in their new and much more serious vision for all things Star Wars. But with the aforementioned episodes still very much being ready to go should the time arise, it's massively telling that Detours is still yet to arrive on Disney+. It just looks like Disney would rather forget all about this one-time light-hearted take on all things Star Wars. Number 4. Kinect Star Wars. In the months before Disney eventually swooped in to steer Star Wars into pastures new, arguably the most deeply underwhelming video game property ever to tumble out of LucasArts left the bitterest of tastes in gamers' mouths in April 2012. Years before the likes of the Vader Immortal series took more successful advantage of the VR technology available to use in modern times, Kinect Star Wars provided fans with yet another reason not to trust a video game offering just because it said Star Wars on the tin. Instead of giving Star Wars fans a deeply immersive tale they could really get their teeth and bodies stuck into, LucasArts unleashed a disappointingly hollow collection of game modes, the worst of which came in the form of a dance-off mode that infected your ears with the excruciated "I'm Han Solo." All in all, critics were less than impressed, and Kinect Star Wars merely acted as a what not to do template for Disney in the coming years. Number 3. Droids. Returning to ABC's Star Wars Adventure Hour now, and to a time when the galaxy's favourite droid duo were finally given their share of the spotlight in the aptly named Droids animated TV show. Filling in some of the gaps between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, back before the former film was even officially realised on the big screen, this 1985 spin-off series saw the lovable C-3PO and R2-D2 take on everything from gangsters to bounty hunters over the course of its one-season run. Despite bringing back old favourites like Boba Fett for a one-off appearance, Droids ultimately bit the dust due to the show in general just being too damn expensive to produce based on its dwindling popularity. And while it is also now available to stream on Disney Plus whenever you feel like spending some quality time with your favourite droids, the overall silly and airy tone of the series pales in comparison to the much deeper and more complex offerings that Disney will get behind on the streaming service in the years to come. Number 2. The Force Unleashed 2. Quickly becoming the fastest selling Star Wars video game of its time, the reveal of The Force Unleashed finally being re-released on the Nintendo Switch this year has likely reminded many why the series was once one of LucasArts' most prized possessions. However, the fact that the original game's sequel, The Force Unleashed 2, was barely even recognized in that recent announcement tells you all you need to know about how much attention Disney want you to send that follow-up's way at this current moment in time. Continuing the story of Starkiller, Darth Vader's apprentice, in the years after his initial descent into darkness, that 2010 property was largely hammered for its limp writing and overall depressingly brief storyline, and this was ultimately reflected in the once promising second outing for the series' underwhelming sales figures. Whether or not Disney will ever bother to give the go-ahead for a The Force Unleashed 2 makeover remains to be seen, but with the likes of Jedi Fallen Order now seemingly stepping into that gap in the market in modern times, it seems unlikely Disney will ever commit to fully embracing this once adored series. Number 1. Holiday Special. When the creator of this galaxy far, far away himself has confessed to wanting to track down every copy of that show and smash it, you can all but guarantee that Disney would be all too happy to join George Lucas in that pursuit. More Wookiees than you ever thought you needed, trippy juggling acts, and an original cast that look as though they'd rather be crushed in a trash compactor than on this cringe-inducing set. The Star Wars Holiday Special sits as arguably the most embarrassing endeavor ever committed to Star Wars media. The fact Disney still refused to slide it onto their own streaming service says more than words ever could, with the mega force clearly feeling that absolutely no good can come from giving a set of soul-crushing performances the global platform Disney Plus has to offer. But at least you can still watch the story of the faithful Wookiee short, featuring the debut of Boba Fett, that formed part of that original special on Disney Plus. That's, something, yay. And that's our list of any other Star Wars flops Disney have buried. Let us know all about them in the comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you're at it. Also, if you're into this kind of thing, head on over to whatculture.com and find some more articles just like the one this Force-sensitive video is based on. I've been Gareth from What Culture Star Wars. May the Force be with you, and I'm sure I'll see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.